Hi Virgo, welcome to your Mercury direct reading. So Mercury retrograde is just not a good time to do a reading for the mercurial signs. All you're gonna get is a bunch of regret, etc. Oh, I regret this, I regret this. It gives us time to take stock. We slow down a little bit. And for you, this is very powerful, the High Priestess. So the next 30 days or so are all about this, actually, astrologically. So this is really wonderful. The High Priestess invites you to see if you're open-minded enough, if judgment is your superpower or is understanding your superpower. She's sitting between the pillars of right and wrong, black and white, and she's sitting at the entrance of what's supposed to be Solomon's temple, so a place of worship, a holy place. And what's implied in the card is that you don't get access to that powerful holy place unless you can see past your preconceived notions. Now, there are two benefits to the High Priestess energy really bearing down on you. One is that it will naturally change your mind about a lot of things. Two, you, without knowing it, are projecting yourself like a walking business card right now. Behind every interaction, social gathering, friendly banter on the phone with someone you haven't seen in a while is lurking an opportunity. And that opportunity can arise at any moment, and it can be very, very profitable. It's based on your confidence in yourself, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you believe in your abilities. You are very clear right now on your worth. It's fiery right now, the way you feel about yourself. And if you continue to project this, because it really is coming from the inside, it's true, it will land you into a wonderful place where you'll feel like there's been this windfall after a time where you feel like yourself again. After a time, let's just say that the retrogrades, that's what I mean about not doing retrograde readings. Like, what's the point of dwelling in this Nine of Swords? It's just what the mercurial signs go through when these transits happen. There has been, perhaps to the way that you think about certain things, the way that you define yourself based on the way that you think about certain things, especially in relationships, the way you judge, the way you criticize certain aspects of them, certain aspects of people. You may think this is inherent to your personality, but it's not. It's actually caused quite a lot of pain. And throughout May, you are reminded again and again that those notions don't define you. They're not who you are. You are who you are. And you don't have to adhere to anything out of a sense of loyalty to who you used to be. This is not about obligation, right? There's no bad guys here. You don't let go of what you used to know or what you used to believe because it's wrong. You just let go because you have understood something better. something that makes more sense to you, something that is more beneficial for you. And the next 30 days are full of epiphanies like this. And what they require, I was going to say all they require, but what they require is you really just letting go of what you think this is supposed to be. I think Mercury retrograde probably clued you into the fact that your thinking about relationships is a bit rusty, a bit dated. So it's time for a tune-up. It's time for an update. It's time for a download. But it's really hard to digest anything new or helpful about relationships if you're really hard on yourself for how you've been thus far, if you get stuck there in that mea culpa energy of, oh my God, I can't believe I used to think that. Just let it go. You don't have to be married to those beliefs, and you sure as hell don't have to grieve them. Just let them go and move on. Oh, I used to think that, but I don't anymore. I understand something different now. Let's move along. That's it. That's simple. Now, for those of you who are dealing with an Aries or a Sag or a Libra, things may be very tough right now because it feels like they would so much rather focus on themselves than focus on the unit. But they are also going through a tough time, especially with the Scorpio moon yesterday. Libras are going through a tough time, just trying to figure out where they should land. Sagittarians are trying not to reach out for help but need it desperately. Aries are trying to go against their nature and be as non-judgmental as possible, much like you, and are not having an easy time with it. They are, in fact, being asked to swallow acid right now, and they can't do it. You, on the other hand, the part of you that's being tested, surprise, surprise, is your ego. The thing that makes this period confusing, painful, is because everything that's brought before you is pretty logical, pretty reasonable. Temperance, justice, you know, none of it is fanciful. It's not that you have to accept any sort of wild notions to understand how your thinking is dated and how you need to move into the future. 7 of Cups, 3 of Wands. You know, that confusion has everything to do with being stuck in the past, right? And then 8 of Pentacles and the Hanged Man. The thing to work, and the 8 of Swords. The thing to work on now is to transform every one of those beliefs about relationships, about your partner if you have one, about what it means to be in a partnership if you're single. And you have to work at dismantling every one of those swords and turning them into pentacles, turning them into something that's useful for you, or else you remain stuck. So it's a month of hard work emotionally, and the labor is, again, basically on your ego. Like, how much can your ego stand to be messed with? How much change can your ego take? How much blame can your ego take? You know, because it will feel that way. If you very much identify with your ego, it will feel like you are being personally singled out, attacked. It's, you know, but it's not you. It's the way that you have thought about things. It's the way that you have carried on in personal relationships that inevitably bring, you know, a sense of despair. And you're understanding, and you have been getting drips and drabs of this throughout the retrograde. But as Mercury goes direct, you understand exactly why it hasn't worked as well as you know it should. And your logical mind kicks in. And although, that can be a little bit harsh for people, it can be a little bit sharp, it can cause some people who don't have the best intentions to become quite upset when you start swinging that sword of rational truth around. Some people have a tendency to be like, oh no, now I think the Virgo will be able to see that I take so much more than I give. It can be really hard for people, especially if you're dealing with somebody who keeps telling you, that they have the best heart and they're going to give you the world, and you just don't seem to see it. I think there is some very logical, rational truth that needs to be told about this situation, and you're hitting it right on the money, and I don't think that they're pleased with that. I think it can cause them to be actually very upset and kind of strong in their language, insulting even in their language. Because see, once you're not held back by your own misconceptions, it's very easy to see through other people. But when your relationships are built up on these very precarious, when your self-concept and the way you show up in relationships is built on very flimsy stuff, House of Cards stuff here, it's very easy for people to come along and read you right away, even though you feel like you're safe and you feel like your internal life is, nobody's business and nobody has access to it. When you behave, how do I say it? When it's obvious that you are coming into things, coming into a relationship, a friendship, what have you, with all these preconceived notions, all these judgments, all these criticisms, you would think that that makes you scary. You would think that that would make you intimidating. You would think that that would make people, really want to follow the rules to get your attention, get your affection, keep your attention, keep your affection. And I think instead we're moving into a time where you're realizing that no, actually being this way makes it really easy for people to see where the gaps are and where they can get in and where they can actually manipulate me deeply, because I've kind of shown all my cards. I've become very obvious, right? So these transits now are chock full throughout May with moments of you waking up to the reality that you have been played in so many ways, and also waking up to the reality that some people in your life are just not emotionally mature enough. It doesn't matter how much time you spent with them, how many years you've put into it. It just feels like you guys are stuck and there's no forward movement. Is that enough of a reason to leave someone? Perhaps up until now it has not been, but for many of you, as we have Jupiter, the Sun, Venus move into Gemini later in the month, it really is just too much for you. I think that it's okay with you for you to continue in something that maybe not, isn't the best for you or isn't really lighting your fire, as long as it doesn't feel like it's dampening whatever fire you have presently. But for many of you, and I think this happens every month with Virgo, every month there's some of you that lose your, that get to your limit in relationships that your heart is not in anymore, and you feel a sense of duty and you're staying. But those of you that leave your relationships or situationships that just don't seem to work, those of you that leave at the end of May, understand that you leave yourself open to a world of good luck as you move into the summer. Because if you're dealing with someone, real talk, if you're dealing with someone who is depressive, if you're dealing with someone who constantly needs your affirmation, if you're dealing with someone who can't seem to sustain a good or stable mood or even a good stable week without you somehow propping them up, and supplying, the emotional energy and doing the emotional labor for them. Whether it's been weeks or years or months or decades, you may reach the point by the 25th of May, I would say, where you just can't take it anymore. Not along with being really logical and rational about the truths you have to face, you're also downloading all this truth about others that they need to face, that they're not ready to face. So the summer is really fun for you in that you don't have to criticize anyone. You can just truth tell all through the summer, and people will love you for it. It's a fun party trick. Okay, let's keep going. And these truths that other people need to know, the truths you need to know about yourself and the truth that other people need to know, a lot of them have to do with the bad habits. Personally, professionally, addiction-wise, the bad habits. There are so many physically necessary things that need to be done in May. Blood tests, second opinions, changing of the diet, supplements. There's so much cleansing that needs to happen. Do a liver detox if nothing else. But also there has to be a mental detox happening here and a mental reevaluation of a lifestyle. For those of you who have been drinking a lot, for example, that's catching up with you big time, and it's not pleasant at all. And you may want to consider how alcohol is affecting your life. Also, Three of Cups doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol. It can be any form of addiction. So if you know yourself that there's something that you're doing that you absolutely should not be doing and that you don't have control over it, this may be the month where it hits you hard enough that you feel that lack of control. You feel that lack of power over the situation, right? And you feel how it's affecting this walking business card that you are. You feel how it's affecting this energy that you're so sensitive and aware of being able to permeate throughout a room, or being able to affect large groups of people, or even one person that you focus on that you really want something from. You feel how this addiction, this Three of Cups thing that kind of runs away with you that you can't control. You feel how it's fucking with your energy and how it's messing with your ability to persuade people and to talk to people and connect with people, all those things that you like to do. So, and all the things that are useful, right? So you have a difficult moment there where you've got to decide like what's more powerful, that need to, satiate that desire, or do you want to show yourself ultimate compassion and kindness and wean yourself off of that, or not give into that and just be more concerned about being compassionate and caring with yourself than about having to escape somehow. But again, addiction is a very complicated issue, so I'm not by any means saying that you should or should not do anything, but you do have these conversations coming up. And for many of you, it's not even an addiction to a thing. It's people, it's situations. So for a lot of Virgos, for example, not to get too specific now, but we'll do a lot more of this in the extended. For a lot of Virgos, this is all of May is about the toxic patterns they've had for years when it comes to relationships and what they think relationships are supposed to be and what people are supposed to bring to the table and what they're supposed to bring to the table. And it's been kind of a shit show, and you're waking up to a month of realizations where, you know, you don't necessarily have to fall into victimhood and guilt and shame. You can just, you know, take it in stride and keep it moving. But of course, there will be moments where you're bowled over by how wrong you were about, you know, people's roles in relationships and what people bring and what they should be bringing and how they should be treated. You will have cringeworthy moments where you can't believe you said what you said or you did what you did. You may have moments of wanting and yearning to go back and apologize to somebody because now something that back then you thought was so certain, now you can't believe that you were ever like that. So part of that is also, you know, again, that mirror is also facing you. Sure, it's facing them, you know, as you are the mirror they're looking in, but you also have a mirror that you're looking in. And you're seeing why you used to think the way you were thinking. And you see the actions behind it, the thought process behind those actions, and how you've gotten so far removed from yourself and how you got so far removed and disconnected from whomever, you know, that one person is that you regret most when all this comes up, because there will be one person specifically. It doesn't like, oh, they're coming back, or it's nothing like that. It's someone in your mind that keeps coming up as you have this cascade of revelations. They will refer to someone or some people in a certain time period where you're like, oh my God, see, I knew I was wrong there, but I didn't understand why. Or I knew that it wasn't just that person's fault, but I couldn't really place what I had done wrong. And the most potent realization right now being that you weren't thinking anything wrong. You just become rigid in your views sometimes and you don't move. And Mercury retrograde is particularly difficult trying to get with your energy or trying to get anything out of your energy because it just stops. You know, and it's like you're holding your breath. So that rigidity, it needs to be, you know, wiggled out. And you need to get fluid again, and you need to get moving again, and you need to catch up. Get back to the future. Be that walking, talking advertisement of your energy that will bring exactly the right mix of people to you and get exactly the right opportunities to you so you can move forward in your life. The most important thing here when it comes to money in May is that everything that we're talking about directly affects your money. Because the same way that your thoughts and ideas are dated in this one aspect of your life, in that same way, the results that you can get financially are going to be held to the same time periods and to the same dated behavior and ideas. So as you move into the future, as you have these revelations, like, oh, it doesn't have to be like this, and I don't have to expect this, and perhaps this is something that I, you know, never should have wanted. As you have these moments, they will directly affect your money and your proximity to opportunity and money. But how? But why? Because you start to move with life again. If you haven't been able to, if you've been in like a rut and you haven't understood why, now you begin to understand why. And of course, it's all going to come back to self. So taking ownership of this, understanding that the hangman was like, okay, this is my job now to get out of this hangman situation. These are the things that will move you forward. That level of responsibility. It's good. You should try it. I love you. Let's look at these cards. Also, there's a link for what we're going to go through. Where does it start? Yes, all these notes in the extended while we're looking at the cards, go through all the astrology, and that's available on Patreon, Vimeo, and as an instant link sent to your email, and that's all below. And there's also a link for personal readings that look just like this that you can get as well. Okay? I love you.